Good Sunday morning. It is Sunday, March 27, 2022, and today we're going to make some of our own tools and templates.
This is very easy. The tabs from the short sides of Cheerios boxes, so that would be up here where they fold in, are almost perfect. They make 3-inch tabs, and 3-inch tabs will fit very nicely on a 9-inch book. So I would make sure that if I wanted to put a tab on something, I'd either do it on a cover page, like a section cover page, or I would make sure that I left the margin I need, which is half of this book's margin, so that this tab wouldn't run into an element. I would take that into consideration, a little planning ahead. Take 2 of those, and you don't need me to demonstrate this, it's pretty simple. You would take 2 of them, you would butt them up like this, and I like to use my mat because it's right in front of my face. You'd butt them up like this, and then you'd spread this apart just a little bit, just like you would for in a book when you're hinging your book covers together. Spread them out, line them up, and run a piece of masking tape, and now you have a hinge. And you can trim this a little bit. I don't know how I got it off center, but trim this a little bit with a nail file. I wouldn't suggest using scissors because you can't, it's such a narrow space unless you're using Tim Holtz detail scissors, those titanium scissors. This is really a tough angle to cut, so I would just use a nail file and smooth it down. So then when you cut this out of, when you use this as a template to cut out your cardstock, you're going to end up with a single piece of cardstock. And then you pretend this is your cardstock, you fold it over, and then you glue it in however far you need to on your page, and now you have, or on your section divider, and now you have your tab. You say to me, okay, 3-inch tabs, that'll give me 3 on a 9-inch book, but I'm not making big books, I'm making small books. Fair enough. We have a 1-inch tab. Can I show that? Yes, I can. We have a 1-inch tab on a 1.5-inch little tab attachment piece. I don't know. Anyway, so in that case, you would take one of these 3-inch tabs, you would cut it in half, and you would butt the 2 halves together. You'd slide them so they are square and flush on the bottom, and then they are square and flush on the sides. Now, cutting this curve, because you're going to have one side, that's square, cutting this curve is a little bit tricky because it's even shallower than this curve. So what I did was I cut the tip off, and then I took just, a regular nail file and just kind of finessed it a little bit. Takes a little while, but you end up with a really nice template. So when we look at this, it looks like we have a good template for our cards. But if you look on this side of this bottom group and this side of this top group, what happened is that the lines that make those angles, one was cut longer than the other. And that makes our tag visually off. And I'll show you on your mat, if you have a mat, on your mat you have everything you need to make a visually straight tag template. But if this angle is longer than this angle, or vice versa, which is what we saw in this one, it throws the whole thing off. So when I see people make tags, I see them snip off a corner, take that corner and flip it around and put it on this side and snip it off, and away they go. But why are we doing all that? We have everything we need right in front of us if we just use it. And so let's figure out how to do that. Let me curl this up and pull it away a little bit. This is better. So if you see you have 45-degree angles written into your mat, 45, this is a 65-degree angle up here. But what we need for an even tag template is right in front of our face. We need to be able to have this line, we need to be able to have this line where this point is and this point is, be as straight and as precise as possible. These 2 points have to be exactly the same length from here to here and here to here, and they have to be on the same angle. So if we pull this back, here's our 0 point right here, and that will make our tag, actually this length tag, hang off the bottom. Well, we want to be able to cut with precision and measure with precision, so we're just going to move this up a little bit so we can tape our tag down and use corner to corner and corner to corner to get pretty good angles. Now, in this case, centimeters do apply. You can use inches, but honestly, for this one, I used centimeters. And you can see that corner to corner is about 2 centimeters. It's reading a little bit more because I pulled it down. But if I put it right up there, it's 2 centimeters. I hope you can see that. Same thing on this one. It is 2 centimeters. That's as long as these 2 sides are equal, and this is a straight side, this is a straight side, this is a straight side, and this is a straight side, you have everything you need to make a tag template that you can use over and over and over again. Back to our template. This ended up being 3 inches by 6 inches. Make a mark at the 4-inch mark, just a really light pencil mark on this side and on this side. Okay, now you're going to make a notch, in fact, it's easier to do it this way. You want this 4-inch line to be straight across, but you're going to make a little pie piece. You're going to cut a little tiny piece out right here, and this line is, going to be slanted a little bit so that you can make a pie piece. So we're going to come out here less than 1/4 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch, and just draw a line right there. So then you are going to make a cut right here, straight cut here, and this little pie piece here. You really only want this little pie piece to come out to be big enough to get your pencil in, to make a dot when you're using it for a template. That way we get a template that is usable for 2 different size cards. Cut this notch right here. You might have to go through it a couple of times. You might be able to start it, you might be able to finish it with scissors, but starting it, I would do it with a straight edge knife and get as much out as you can. Now you can finish it with scissors if you choose to, but I would be very careful about using scissors for this. There we go. We've made ourselves a template that is 3 wide by 6 long, but we can shorten it because of these notches to 3 wide by 4. And, you know, we made it out of chipboard, and then we put a face of manila file folder on it so it's nice and sturdy. I'm going to use one of the messed up cards with the one long edge, just, you know, to not waste anything. So I'm going to tell you how to do this, but you might have to make a couple of adjustments, and I'll tell you about those adjustments. Also, I'm aware that you're not able to see, because my papers are normally so pale, I'm aware you're not always able to see the details. So this one I'm going to do on craft paper. This is Amazon wrapping paper. If you still have Amazon wrapping paper coming in your packages, you have gold there, because I'm not getting it anymore. I'm getting packing pillows, which irks me. So you're going to take your template. You've cut your manila file folder with your template, and you're going to put your template so that you have about a 1/2 inch from the left edge, 1/2 inch from the bottom, and you're going to draw a line about a 1/2 inch from the right side. And there's no telling whether I'm going to hit a 1/2 inch or not, but you get the idea. So I'm going to draw a 1/2 inch. I happen to be using a 6-inch ruler, so it made it easy. That's maybe a 1/2 inch. Then I'm going to snug this up so I get my angle right, and then just move it away from the template. I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm going to do my other side the same way before I do my top, so that my angles are pretty good. And then, whoops, I just moved it, roughly a 1/2 inch from the top, so that your paper to wrap one side of this is actually larger than your tag template. You'll see the reason why in a minute. So let's move our template. I can already see this line is wonky, so I'm going to correct it. And we're going to cut this out. Normally I would use a straight edge, not scissors. That's just me. You could even glue your tag down before you cut. You can glue your tag down. Let's do that.
I've sped this up because nobody's got time to watch me take 1 minute and 30 seconds to glue things. Nevertheless, you're going to see where getting this glued down so that you have equal distance overhang is the way to go. Here we go.
Now, the next thing you need to do is notch all your edges. You want your sides to look like little tabs, because we're going to fold this in. So you're going to cut little notches. You're not going to go all the way to the edge of the file, because you want a little bit of paper between the point and your file folder. That's not too bad. And you have to do every corner in order to get it to fold nicely. So you're going to get some weird looking little pie pieces. It's okay. That's as long as you remember you have to have little wedges cut out, you're okay. The goal here is to reduce the bulk and all of your, now remember this angle is the same as this angle, but it's flipped opposite. So you kind of have to think about what you're doing here, because it's, if you cut it the wrong way, you're going to end up with a weird cut. So up almost to the point, but not quite. Here's your goal. Your desk is going to look like it snowed. Here's your goal. All of your, where you made your cuts, they're going to look like tabs. And I'm going to use the very expensive Beacon glue because I have a little bit sticking up here. Here we go. Okay, so I always do the bottom first. And I use the card to fold itself over like that. You get a nice nice fold with no stress on your paper. Stressing your paper will make any project you do that much harder. So now, glue on this fold and glue on this fold. I always do these short little folds first. And this one you could use the card, but I don't. I just finger press it. I always do these folds first before I do the top, and you'll see why. Maybe you can see why already. When you do the top, after you do those little tab sides on a tab card, when you fold it over, you're actually you're catching right here and right here, you're catching the side of these tabs. Now I do the long sides. And just run a line of glue, make a little rectangle, fill it in. It doesn't have to be super, super precise, just enough to get everything to lay down. And then I use the long side of my card and flip it over. And the same thing on this side. Now you have plenty of room. When you go to cut your second piece of paper, you have plenty of room to make adjustments if anything is cut wonky. So there we go. You can see that your card looks pretty nice. I could have burnished it down a little bit better, but it's fine. Now you're going to get these tiny, where are my little scissors? Right where my pointer finger is, you're going to get these tiny little dog ears. And you just go around and cut with the direction of the curve. So in this case, it would be, whoops, I'm not in camera. It would be this one right here. Wow. Maybe if I hold it this way. It would be this one right here. Just snip it off. This one right here. Snip it off all the way around if you have them. Usually I only get them up here. Okay, now we have to cover this side. Your template is now too big for your for your cutting lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay our, let me get this so you guys can see it. We're going to lay our paper back down, and we're going to use our actual tag to make our second cutting line. You want to go the other way. So you want to come down 1/4 of an inch, and you want to go over 1/4 of an inch. So that the inside of this paper that you cut out, the inside of it is actually smaller than the tag. So I'm just going to draw a line here, a line here, here, and here. Now, let's cut it out. Again, normally I would use my straight edge. I would not be using scissors, but I find that for me, my hand-eye coordination isn't all that hot. So I do better, try and make your cut line as parallel as possible. I find for me personally, because of my vision, I'm just better off making I didn't get quite up there. I'm just better off making cuts with my straight edge whenever possible, because they always come out wonky. And the more I do these demonstrations, the more it shows up that my cuts are not straight. Okay, I'm going to turn this to the back, and I'm going to fit this. You know what? Let me take a minute. I'm going to shut off the camera. Let me take a minute and darken these edges so you can see it. I have taken my inside piece. I've inked it around the edge so you can see the contrast, hopefully, and glued it down. Now, I didn't get this glued down. There's more of a margin here than there is here. I was more worried about being able to show you what to do and what not to do than getting it perfectly straight. When you cut out this piece to cover where you folded your tabs in, you may have to shave off a little bit from the edge and a little bit from the bottom. I clearly didn't position this so that it's equal. But what I want you to see is when you cut too deep into these corners, you're going to end up with a little bit of the card showing. You can cover that with, an embellishment, or you can ink it. You can do a lot of things to cover it up. But you have to be careful when you place this top one down. On the other side, we have a fabulous looking card. On this side, you're going to have to embellish. I hope you can see that. So when you fold these, when you cut these notches, and usually this first notch is always the one that I cut wrong. So make your corrections before you glue it down. So this goes into my master journal as what to do and what not to do.
Take your screenshot, because next week we will be talking about coffee and tea dyeing. The only type of dyeing we didn't talk about when we did paper dyeing a couple weeks ago. You're going to need instant coffee, a couple of tea bags, some baking soda, scissors, glue, a straight edge, and then you can use copy paper, you can use doilies, coffee filters, lace, twine, book pages, or tracing paper, anything that you want to try and dye. But please remember, don't use something that's already printed, or you might end up with just a muddy mess. And that includes some kinds of notebook paper. The notebook paper dye for the blue lines will run. We also have an alternative to coffee and tea dyeing. Remember the pack of markers that you bought, the children's markers? Get out 2 brown markers and 1 black marker and steep them in rubbing alcohol. If you need further instruction for that, go back to the paper dyeing episode and you'll see how we use our children's markers. The longer you steep those markers, the more ink you get out of the felt and into the alcohol. We'll have to reschedule the tearing ruler for a future episode. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it so much. I look forward to your comments and questions. And until I see you again, God bless you. Take care of yourself. I'll see you real soon.